Today we're bringing you our top 5 pickups from last year. Now I know I'm a little bit late to it, and that normally people are doing this around the new year. I meant to record it earlier and kind of got sidetracked. A lot of these are very, very beautiful, but a lot of it is really about what their future potential means for us here at Rhyno's Royals. So without further ado, here are our top 5 ball python pickups from last year. Starting off with this absolutely wonderful pastel fire pied het monarch. This is a boy here, and while he might just kind of look like a really nice fire pastel pied, it's the het monarch in him that will put him to great use here. Last year, I created our very first double het pied monarchs, and I didn't get the greatest clutch size out of it, but I did get 2 females and 2 males. Now the males, of course, are just double hets. It really lowers my odds if I want to hit a pied monarch going het to het. So what better way to do that than to buy a snake that's at least visual for one of those. So no matter what, when I pair this, I will always have het pied, and it increases my odds of hitting the double visual pretty considerably. Now I definitely prefer the darker line, especially when it comes to pied in monarch, but there's nothing wrong with the lighter lines. Pastel works great with monarch, and I'm still very, very happy with this animal. He's gotten a wonderful size. I mean, he could honestly start breeding now, albeit that the females are still much younger than him. I still have about a couple years left. The opportunity to pick him up, though, presented itself, and it just brings in a different kind of like a bloodline that I can put them to. So I no longer need the 2 males, because this boy here will be pretty much the beginnings, at least, of the future of our monarch pied projects, until of course I can hit my first visual, which I would actually like to hit a variety of different things. I would like to actually hit one with no other genes besides pied and monarch. Now I've shown off this footage from Canova of monarch pieds and the light versus the dark plenty of times, but it really does illustrate perfectly what I'm talking about here. The light pieds are really nice, but the dark ones are kind of where my heart is. But I have the opportunity to hit both here, because it's not always going to pass on pastel and fire. I'm really hoping for a bit of variety when I do start making this pairing. My goal is, of course, to just make the visual myself here, and this boy represents a much higher chance to do that myself. Our next most monumental pickup this year was this pastel cypress pixel het genetic stripe. And I really love and have wanted to get cypress for a while, and this was just kind of a good way to do it, on top of also just lucking into getting the pixel project. This girl here is outstanding. I have her specifically held in a certain way, and I probably will put her down here shortly, because there's actually an outside chance she could be even building. She just got up to size, so I gave it a go. And I'm actually trying to put this to my GHI spot nose clown that's also het hypo. I think that cypress already has proven itself to go very, very well in the clown project, but pixel I think will be great with it. I'm not as interested in pursuing the genetic stripe, mostly because of advice from the person who I purchased it from. The genetic stripe kind of pulls away from the sides of the snake, which kind of pulls away from the pixel, but I think it will be very exceptional when paired with cypress, when put into clown, on top of the fact that I could also be getting GHI in that mixed spot nose. I think that the potential is outstanding. And if I can get lucky, I will definitely be sending in the babies for shed tests, and hopefully that hypo gene from the dad hopped along for the ride as well, so I can have a little bit more to play around with in the future as well. But what this really represents is a newer gene that not a lot of people are into in the pixel. I believe that it was just recently proven that there is a super of this, so that is also on the table for me eventually in the future as well. But I love granulation genes. GHI is one of my absolute favorites. I'm very interested to see how the 2 of them mix together. I'm not sure if that's been done or not, but I'm very interested to see the results, even without hitting the visual clown. I'm hoping that she goes this year, but if she doesn't, I think she's a sure lock for next year. She has ceased eating and started doing some behaviors that are indicative of possibly building. We believe we caught the end of an ovulation, maybe even. So my fingers are crossed that I wasn't just being very hopeful, as us ball python breeders are known to be. Pixel is a genetic that was founded, I believe, by Canova, and there's not a lot that has been done with it, at least not that's been released. I'm very excited to play around with it and make contributions to what this awesome genetic can do. So I'm excited to see if I can get lucky and get a snake that's just absolutely loaded with some of those genetics. The only thing that I'd take or leave it is the pastel, and that's in this girl here, but I certainly wouldn't be upset regardless, as long as I can get lots of pixel, lots of GHI, lots of spot nose, and everything would be het clown from that pairing. And in the future, I'd like to see this also paired with confusion, and then who knows, maybe eventually I kind of pair this into my monarch projects. Again, what I really really love with Pixel is the granulation. This is an adult. She's not going to change anymore. She's held her colors very, very nicely. I don't have any idea if Pixel or Cypress is helping. Probably the Cypress, let's face it. But you can kind of see what it just does and kind of messes up these sides, brings in a lot of this granulation, a lot of these dots and whatnot. So this should be very exciting, especially when paired with other granulation genes like GHI. There's so much potential, and I can't wait to eventually bring you guys what I can come up with. Hopefully this year, if not this year. Again, like I said, I think it's a lock for next year. A very exciting gene, the Pixel, is with so much upside and so much potential, and untapped ground, really. Moving on to this absolutely beautiful animal. Now, sadly, she is in shed, but you can see just how gorgeous she is. Her dark base just makes it look good. And that would be the stranger gene at play. My very first one. This girl here is also, I think, even more likely to lay, so I probably won't mess with her here too much. But she is a stranger yellow belly het clown. And of course, I'm kind of going the same route with that same boy, putting a GHI spot nose clown that's het hypo to her. And well, I'm hoping for some absolutely electric animals. I know that the stranger is going to play well with the clown. I've seen stranger yellow belly clowns and they are absolutely insane. Having that spot nose along for the ride is just going to make it even better. It's going to make it so amazing. And I'm curious as to how the GHI will work with it. Will it be a little too much? I guess we'll see, but I think she is going to lay. So I'm pretty darn excited about this one. Just got right at the size in time for the season. And I said, what the heck, let's give it a go. Another one that just ate well and got the size just so incredibly quickly. So even if she weren't to go, I certainly wouldn't be mad, because even then it's still going to be incredible to have her going for us here next year. Next year, I'd kind of like to put confusion into it to see what happens. I think it would just completely explode the pattern. We've shown off from Spartan Reptiles a visual stranger yellow belly clown, and this is actually from Spartan Pythons. I'm of the belief that there are varying qualities of the stranger gene out there. I've just seen so many doing all the auction videos and stuff that we do, always looking around. None of them I don't think look bad, but some of them are just incredibly exceptional. And Spartan Pythons has that exceptional quality to it. What's so awesome about it is that it really hasn't changed all that much since we got her. Again, of course, she is in shed here, and she's just as exceptional. The stranger gene, I didn't get it on it right away because it was very, very expensive, but I did get this girl, and I couldn't have been more happy. Of course, the goal is to hit visual stranger clowns, and hopefully get a lot of those other genetics like spot nose and yellow belly along for the ride. They're incredible, so I am very excited again to see this. This is going to be a year that if things go for me, it's not really a building year anymore. I mean, in a way, if you're a true ball python breeder, every year is a building year. As soon as you hit the thing you wanted that you've been going for so long, you go, awesome. Now, what would that be with this? But it's really going to be a big year, I think, where I'm starting to get some of these projects that I had planned out years ago. And I'm thankful that I was able to pick up a lot of these animals here. Like, you might notice, you know, they might be breeding this year. And I said, well, I picked them up last year. Well, we picked them up early last year, and they already had some good size to them. I got incredibly fortunate in that regard. There is always the chance that either one of these, this one or the one we had shown prior, just do not, but I think we're good on this one. I think this one might go. I'm hopeful that this year we do get some of those that we're kind of seeing the results of years of planning. And again, I got really lucky that I got an animal that ate super well and had some good size to it already, that is now clocking in at 1,500 grams. So we'll see if that pans out. I hope to bring you those results. But in the meantime, even just by herself, she is exceptional, but what she represents in hitting those visual stranger clowns with, like I said, I hope I get yellow belly and stranger along for the ride for sure. And I am very curious to see how GHI will look in that mix. Maybe it's been done and I should probably look online, but I think that it will be incredible. And she is, again, in shed right now and still looks this gorgeous. It's insane to me how dark and awesome she is. And again, I mentioned about the pixel earlier, the granulation, how I love that so much. Well, it shouldn't surprise you that stranger does it very, very, very well, creating an absolutely ghostly type pattern. Stranger is definitely a dark morph for sure, but it almost is like flirting with some horror theme here. It's crazy how awesome and dark it is, but yet it has the contrast enough to come through and then show you this granulation. That's why things like yellow belly and spot nose I think work so well with it, because it brings in just a flare of contrast in that, which it works well with that too. It doesn't just purely dark. It doesn't just eat it all up and gobble it up. It plays nicely and it is very, very beautiful. So very excited about the future of what this animal brings, and I'm very, very hopeful that that is this year. Up next would be this beautiful male here, and he is a Striker Fire Het Hypo. And Striker is another gene that has not been all that worked. It has an amazing super form, which is really what I'm after. This guy is not wanting to cooperate like the other models that we had. Striker is known mostly, I would say, as a pattern morph, although I do think it definitely brings in a little bit of a lighter hue to the animal. I bought him as a breeding male. Again, got very, very lucky this year scoring some of these animals. They had hit the visual hypo version of it, and lo and behold, that is what I want to put this project into as well. I would like to create a few different Striker hypo combinations and put them together to get the visual super Striker hypo. That is my goal, and it is a lofty one, but it is one that I will endeavor to do because I want to. And it doesn't matter how long it takes to me. I know that I'll have to raise babies up again, but that's okay. That's kind of how this game works. I am expecting, however, to get visual hypo Strikers. At least I'm hoping. I got a good chance. Now I'm kind of working it backwards than what I normally do, but I picked up a girl for the sole reason of breeding into him, and she is a pastel GHI hypo. And the whole purpose is to put him to her to create visual Striker hypos, and I want that GHI gene in there too, gosh darn it, because I think that these would make exceptional animals. What's so awesome though, let's focus on that Striker gene here, is what it does to the pattern. And the super Striker, we can show a picture of that here, is insane. It's one of the most intense looking animals in existence, quite frankly. They are very, very striking, not to be punny, but couldn't pass up on that. Striker obviously brings in all this crazy pattern. I mean, look at that, it almost like turns that one upside down. Often there's banding ever so slightly. As you can see here, it kind of just stretched across the top. Just kind of really makes it absolutely super wacky. Eventually down the route, I will probably put him into clown as well to create Striker clowns. The future for Striker here, another really cool, unique genetic, is coming soon. And again, being an incomplete dominant, I'll have Strikers available this year. And in fact, that is the one that I definitely have already caught an ovulation from, the girl he was paired to. And she is big, and she has gone off food. Anticipating that at some point here, I actually think she might be in her prelay shed right now as we speak. So very, very excited to see what I can tinker with in the Striker mutation. Before we get into what I believe is my top ball python pickup from last year, I do want to talk about something else that we picked up, and that would be hognoses. We have a whole bunch here. I'm very, very obsessed with the albino genetic in hognoses. I think that the general albino morph is absolutely exceptional. I think it's one of the best versions of a baseline albino morph that is in reptiles, quite frankly. They aren't like a yellowy really, they're just orange, and they are exceptionally beautiful in color. But I, of course, also want to do the sunburst, which is also sable. Snows, which is with Xanthic. We actually picked up this boy here to kind of spearhead the project. He's from JMG Reptiles, and he is an extreme red albino het sable, and he is 66% het snow, which means he's 66% het Xanthic. So I'd like to work that. I hope he ends up proving out as Xanthic, because I've got a lot of females that he can go to when they all get to size. So they're growing right now, and that's been a fun process doing. My son actually proved himself by keeping an animal for a while now, actually, and we ended up picking up an adult female, and these Herman's tortoises. They're perfect size, and he has taken great care of for them. They have been breeding as well. So that's another project that we're very, very excited about. Kind of just expanding beyond ball pythons. We actually plan to maybe even make a full video on some of these animals, be it hognoses, Herman's tortoises, or maybe even kind of tipping my hand here, but Uromastyx as well. And it is something that we're incredibly excited about. We love all reptiles and all animals, quite frankly. And finally, my top pickup from last year would be this absolutely beautifully intense looking animal, a GHI black pastel red stripe yellow belly clown. When I got her, she was 50% het hypo, and what a dream it would have been to have her prove out. But sadly, that was not in the cards, but that's okay. I never got her for the 50% het hypo. It was just a big time bonus if she was. However, it is something that I would like to explore again in the future. Considering the male, again, this is his other partner for the year, would be that GHI spot nose 100% het hypo clown boy. Obviously, my goal is to create a Pompeii. And I even have a chance of creating a GHI Pompeii. And I also have a chance of creating a super GHI Pompeii. The chances aren't the greatest in the world. A 1 in 16 chance of hitting the Pompeii, which honestly, all things considered, I'll take those odds. Hopefully when she goes, which will not be this year. She is not to size quite yet. She needs another year. She has been growing pretty quickly, but she finally finally did hit what I would call 1,000-gram wall. Now she's actually much bigger than 1,000 grams. I think she's actually 12. She could be even pushing 13, but just a little too little for me, for my liking. And I'm in no rush. I want her to get to even better size so that she can lay even more eggs to increase the ability for me to have more chances of hitting this awesome Pompeii. Because of course, if I hit the Pompeii, I would most certainly like GHI to come along for the ride. And since both parents have it, if I do hit a Pompeii at least, I would like to believe that my odds are good of doing that as well. What's so exceptional about this animal, which I got from Petro Genetics, and I can't recommend enough because of the quality here, is that I believe that this animal has gotten better since I got it. We have footage of me getting her, and we obviously have this right here. And she's just amazing. Where's to even start with an animal like this? I mean, the color, the shadowing, the insane colors in the head, the whites that sort of creep up on the side. And what's so cool about this is that this has as many genes as the Pompeii does. You're just switching out the spot nose with the GHI. So you can kind of see where you can go in different directions and still hit amazing animals. That's what's so cool about the Pompeii project. Working the Pompeii project, you can't really go wrong. You're always gonna land among the stars. When I miss hitting the Pompeii, I'm gonna be hitting amazing animals. I've often talked about belly pattern on ball pythons and how that really doesn't exist, and when you can get it, like in confusion clowns, it's outstanding. But look here, we kind of sort of got it. Not as an intense, but it's still there. I've got a ball python with belly pattern, and it's an adult. She's an absolute dream. I absolutely love this animal. I can't wait for her to breed. It doesn't hurt that she is just exceptionally well mannered too, so I get to hang out with her. Now obviously when she starts breeding, I'll have to leave her be. But where can you get the colors like that? I don't even know how to describe it. Salt and pepperish camo of some sort. How would you describe this?
Gravel.
That's not a bad way to describe it. I like those pixelation type genes as well, which you do have a bit of that there too, probably from the GHI bringing in so much shadowing. Very, very cool animal. There's probably not too many of this animal out there, quite frankly. So I don't know how much I would keep and hold back, but I might. I definitely hope that hypo gene goes along for the ride so that I can finally come up with a hypo Pompeii one day. Someone else would probably get to it before I do, but regardless, I don't care. I think it would be exceptionally beautiful animal, just like she is, and I'm super excited to have her here. Not only the biggest pickup of our last year, but one of the biggest pickups I've ever done, quite frankly. She's gorgeous. I find things that preach about her every single time I look at her. Usually you don't have pattern quite like this, but when you look at her mouth, it has pattern that, you know, the coloring just kind of shoots up where you have a little bit of a white lip. It's like a white-lipped python. It's absolutely gorgeous animal. Something I know I've seen, but I haven't really commented on or mentioned. She's just so intensely beautiful. I'm sure you can tell I'm absolutely gushing with admiration for the colors and the contrast and for what the future for something like this can bring. She's just so darn gorgeous, and I can't get over it, making her easily the top snake that I have picked up from last year, and arguably one of the top snakes outside of maybe my monarch projects that I have ever picked up. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know I did, because I always like looking at these animals, and when I start talking about them, it's from the heart, trust me. If you enjoyed this, you can actually check out a lot of the genetics we talked about in videos we've done right here and here.